What's going on, everyone? Again, my name is Rashawn Taylor.
And I'm Ralph Bright.
All right, so right before we hit the record to do our vlog for the week, we were talking about like just business, and we were talking about like really how people in general, the things that they need to do in order to like to hit their true potential, to hit their true self, and to really also to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations and what that can do. So, Ralph, like what I'd love for you to do is like just talk a little bit about like how being uncomfortable is actually a great place to be and how you can learn from that.
Being uncomfortable, just to, I'm just looking at the best way to describe it, but being uncomfortable puts you in a position to find your true self.
Okay.
A lot of times, especially the way society is, and we were talking about this earlier with marketing, society tells you, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. For a lot of businesses, they go that route that the business before them went. And we mentioned this last time about your fingerprints. We all have different fingerprints. Sometimes you literally have to put your hands in different type of situations that you're not comfortable with to actually find out more about yourself and also to find your true self.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, as we're still growing as people, as businesses, when you start small, like a baby, like you're not going to be the same as you continue to grow. So being uncomfortable forces you to expand yourself, to stretch yourself. At some point, just like a rubber band, you'll get comfortable in that area. So it's then important again to stretch yourself again, to be uncomfortable again, because that is the ultimate sign of growth. You can't grow and be stagnant at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's a very that's powerful what you just said, and and I think a part of like for the people in the vlog that are watching this, like we're going to be doing for instances a lot just to kind of help you be able to kind of pin some things together. So I'll do a for instance with myself. I'll never forget so my entire background is like corporate security, physical security, armed guards, that kind of stuff, surveillance cameras, access control. That's literally my background. I remember when I first had work in the private security world, I was so uncomfortable because of there was just so many different things. Like it was just weird for me, and I kind of looked at it, I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty much just gonna do this thing that I'm told to do, and I'm gonna watch for these things that I'm told to watch for. I found myself asking a ton of questions. That was the rubber band stretch. That was me developing that uncomfortableness that Ralph was just talking about. I started to be able, as I'm asking these questions, I'm putting myself in situations that were far, far, far beyond what my actual scope of work was. That those questions and me understanding and being interested in the answers to the questions that I were asking allowed me to grow. It actually allowed me to be able to start managing people. I got to the point where I had a very large staff underneath me, and I'm helping my staff be able to understand how to stretch the rubber band. So what Ralph is talking about is so true in life. So not just in business, because we don't just want to communicate from a business. Because business and life are very, very important. So yeah, that was good for you, Ralph, to kind of talk about that. What are some other things that you have on your, I'm sorry, not on your plate, but have on your mind?
I think too, just to piggyback off that, because where I was initially wanted to go, this could lead into it.
Mm.
Knowing what questions to ask, because like you said, you had to start asking questions.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times,
that's a good, yep.
I feel like a lot of times we ask questions, but we're not always asking the right questions. So we're either asking the questions that's going to stretch us, or we're asking the questions that's going to keep us in a safe place.
Yeah, very, very good point.
And we have to know the difference between the type of questions that we're asking, because the questions that's going to lead us into a safe place is usually the answers we already know.
Right.
We're just looking for confirmation.
Right.
Versus, you know what? I know I don't want to do this,
Right.
but I need to ask this question. And the reason why I need to ask this question is because it might lead me down a completely different path. Like you said, not just in business, but in life. You know, we mentioned this last time. You got to understand your true self, right? You got to know your true self, because your true self is going to help you get to where you want to go, not just in business, but in life.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and I'm gonna piggyback off of that. And this is what I love about like no scripts. Like it naturally flows. In regards to, oh my goodness. Oh, don't leave that thought. Don't leave that thought. In regards to like the questions that you're asking, in regards to like trying to figure out like where you need to go, but trying to find your true self. That's where I was getting to. It took me a second to get there. A lot of people actually, and it's okay, a lot of people don't know who their true self is. And so they a lot of self-help books, they get all of these different things, and a lot of things talk about finding your true self, or unlock that whatever you're supposed to unlock. Really, one of the easiest exercises that you can do to find your true self is take a pad and a sheet of paper and literally write 1 and down to 20. And then at the top of it, write what makes me happy. And then start going down that list. You will quickly find out your true self. It happens so fast. And what you want to do is time yourself. So like give yourself like maybe 15 minutes to do this exercise. So in the process of doing this exercise, and the reason why you want to have that time on it, because you're going to realize that your brain is having to, it's like it's looking at the clock, you're trying to think of what to write, and you get to, some get to 10 and they start to it starts to be harder. Some get down to about 15, and then those last 5 are a lot harder. But this is a really good exercise that you can do to help you identify like what makes you happy. You're going to realize what makes you happy, what brings joy to your life, because Ralph and I like to use the word joy more than happy. What brings joy into your life actually helps you tap into your true self.
Yes. And honestly, too, just to piggyback off of that, you might answer the first 5 in the first 3 minutes, and
right.
and for the rest of the 15 minutes, you might go blank.
Right.
That is okay. Because what you want to do with that too is every like 2 to 3 weeks, you want to self-inventory. You want to do an inventory of yourself, because we grow constantly. We mentioned that before. Like you're growing either one way or another. You're going to be growing. So if you're growing, do that inventory. Not just like do that inventory for yourself, because the first week, the first time you do it, yes, you might struggle. Right. You might. It's okay, because if you're going with that intent, so every week 1 through 20 or 1 through 15 could always change every couple of weeks. And that's how you narrow down. You might take certain things off the list, and it's okay, because that's part of growth, and that's how you find or be able to put your finger on that true purpose.
Yep, I love it. And then the other part that I like about this too is that as you're writing this down, to look at it in regards to like business and life at the same time, look to create categories around the things that you wrote down. So what you're going to realize is that these categories are going to become like these subsets to your joy and what brings happy into your life. You're going to realize that you may then start I forgot the word that you use. I just know of auditing just because my business mind. So I'm just going to say self-auditing. I forgot what you said, but I really liked it. But what did you say? Yeah, self-inventory. I like that too, because I speak so much on like the business side of things. But self-inventory your own thoughts and look at those categories, because you may start to realize that what you thought made you happy after you do this exercise a couple of times actually doesn't. That category may change. or that category may stay the exact same. And then you got these other categories that stay the exact same. Then you start to realize, like, oh my goodness, like this is what brings joy into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start marching. Don't worry about what everyone else is telling you to do. You march off of that. You will find so much joy and peace and happiness in your life. You will become like a freight train going down the road or going through your life or going through your business because you're so focused on what what brings joy into your life.
Yes. You want to focus on your fingerprint. And that's actually what's funny because I really wanted to discuss about me time
Mm-hmm.
and how it's important.
Yes,
And
it is.
things you can do with me time. So that's why I kind of find it funny because you didn't know that's
Yeah,
what I was
no.
thinking about. I was like, it's kind of
That's what I like about us doing this, and especially for like the people who watch this. Like there's no script, as you could tell. Like we're going off the cuff. There's been a couple of times where there's been some ums and ahs. Like it is what it is. It's free flowing, natural. But then what I love about it is when you find a like-minded individual and you're able to communicate. Like he had some ideas of what he wanted to do, and we were talking on some completely like on business related stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, we need to do the vlog. I hit the record and here we are now doing the vlog and stuff that he had written down that I had no clue about. We're now discussing. Like that's another thing too, for you owners and you anyone who's watching these vlogs is that don't try to force a round hole into a square. Like just don't try to force that. So what that means is don't force relationships, don't force business. When something naturally flows, you'll feel it. And then the only thing you got to do is open up your mouth and be like, man, like, I don't know, you feeling this vibe that I'm feeling? Like, yes. And then you start to do like, what can we do with this vibe?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens with customers. That's what happens with business. That's what happens with friends. Like, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So don't try to force things. Just let it naturally flow, and you'll start to realize, like, man, like, and then you start to get things pumping because you're both communicating on the same exact level. That's what it starts to turn into a business. It starts to become fun.
Yes. Yes. I mean, but like that just to go bring it back, me time is important. I know me and you talk about it a lot outside, often off camera, but I know me and you feel very strong about the importance of me time. I know you've kind of mastered it in a way that I haven't yet. So that's why, I thought it was something that's super important, not just for myself, but also for smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, because a lot of times we let work consume us, right? And understanding the different things that you can do or that we can do during me time, like specifically your time, dedicating it specific time to yourself.
Yeah.
How it's important for having that work-life balance.
Yep.
Because everybody struggle, not everybody, but most people struggle between business and life. And they don't understand, like you mentioned earlier, they go hand in hand. They're married. So, I mean, I was gonna
I'll go ahead into a couple of different things. So, so for anyone watching this vlog, you must literally on your calendar block off a section of time and literally call like me time, personal time, whatever. During that time, if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I do 30, and sometimes I do 45. But between 30 and 45, I'm able to get like really, really locked in. So the other thing is when you pay attention, I'm sorry, not say when you pay attention. Well, actually, no, those words are correct. When you pay attention to as much data as we as a company pay attention to, you start to see the trends in certain things. It takes a lot of people about 26 minutes to come out of one thought and move to the next thought. So even though you may be in a meeting and you may be doing X, Y, and Z, and you may end that meeting and go into your next meeting, your brain's not completely locked into that subject matter. As you start to perfect it, you get to the point where you can get it down to about 5-6 minutes, and then some are like really good down. They got it down to like a couple of minutes. But the majority of people out there, it's about 20. I think it's between 15 and 26 minutes. So knowing that when you schedule your me time, you already know if you do 30 minutes, you're really only getting about 15, but that 15 is better than none. But during that me time, you're not touching anything associated with work. So like with me, when I do my me time, I usually like I love my wife, and like most of the times, like when I'm done with meetings, I have to go find her and like give her a hug or give her a kiss or just like tickle her or something. Just I love my wife. So what I do is like I will like immediately go to me time. Where's my wife? I gotta go find her, and I'm like hugging on her, or I'm doing something with her because I love my wife. But what happens is it helps break the monotonous of business, but then it also brings a razor focus. So for me, my me time is usually in some form of woods. I love woods. So again, when Ralph was talking about finding your true self, my true self is in nature. I love nature. So when I do my personal time, I escape. Well, I'll go hug my wife, but I live in the woods. So I hug my wife and then I'm staring at woods. I can go into the woods and just, I can decompress. I can think. And what happens is my thinking is so focused on like, man, the birds and the crickets and all the stuff flying around and the trees and bushes and fall foliage. Like I see all of these different things. It
Mhm.
actually helps me become razor focused in my business, which would be like, how in the world is that possible? Because for me, when I see nature, I see systems. I see all of these systems that are doing something together. And
Mhm.
because I chose to become an expert in systems and processes, it helps me actually do better with my customers and better with my business because I'm
Mhm.
constantly thinking about the woods. So as I'm being razor focused on helping other individuals be able to get and maximize their business, I'm also getting so much joy in my life because it's reminding me of nature. So
Mhm.
that's a very important thing when you do your me time. Is like so there's some on the team, they love to play guitar, so they'll go
Mhm.
sit and play the guitar. But guess what? I guarantee while they're playing that guitar and they're working those fingers around that guitar, their mind's also thinking about the systematic steps. It's crazy how this stuff works. So that's one thing that I can definitely give to the individuals watching this vlog is
Mhm.
in regards to your me time, start there. And
Mhm.
that's a great place. You may end up staying there, but focus on something that makes you happy. So
Mhm.
going back to that sheet that you created in your me time, be like, you know what? I'm going to do one of the things on this list.
Yes. And then what you'll understand too is as you're doing that inventory, you'll actually realize what it's bringing to you. Is
Mm-hmm.
it really bringing you the calm, right?
Yep.
Is it really helping you understand you? Because if it's not, and if it's not, so in terms, I'm gonna use this as an example, an athlete at peak position, at peak condition. An athlete at peak condition, heart rate can go from 150 beats per minute to anywhere between 50 and 60, between 50
Mm-hmm.
and 60 in less than a minute and 30 seconds. That's an
Mm-hmm.
athlete at peak. So to transfer that over, like you said, it takes the average person 26 minutes to basically decompress what they just learned or what they just ate, right? And as a meeting, to be at your best, it's important for you to understand that me time so you can go from here to here, and
Mm-hmm.
then that understanding that you then have because now your mind is clear.
Yep.
We all need clarity. At
Yep.
first you might not have clarity. That's the importance of like meditation. That's the importance of doing certain things. Find your pocket
Yep.
and what works best for you and what's going to help you calm you and clear your mind.
Yep.
It's not about, oh, I got this, because if you're an overthinker, your mind's going 150 miles per minute. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to go from 150 miles per minute as an overthinker to at least 5 miles per hour.
Yep. And it's
Because
so crazy too, because like even as you're talking, there's so many things that are going through my head. First of all, we definitely got the title of this one without even like we'll talk about that off when we're done. But we definitely got the title for this one. I love how the direction went in regards to the information flowing. Like again, folks that are watching this, like this is what I love. Like unscripted, and especially I implore and I beg people to do more stuff that's unscripted. When if you try to have some form of playbook for everything, it's impossible to have a playbook for life. So here's a think about it. It's impossible to have a playbook for life. It's impossible to goal out everything that you plan on doing. Life is nuts. There's going to be a roadblock over here. In our last vlog, we talked about roadblocks and how to navigate roadblocks. You're going to have situations over here. You're going to have unknowns. It's life. It happens that way. So don't try to map everything out. Don't try to script everything because it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you might as well, this will help you develop so many more skills because your brain's like, and then you catch on to something, you're like, oh, and it feels so good. And you just kind of rock with it. So I implore you and I ask you, and I personally beg you, try to do stuff that's unscripted and just see how it feels. Some are more natural at it than others. But again, like Ralph talked about with the rubber band, put yourself in situations where you're stretching yourself a little bit so you can kind of see. You may realize it may be uncomfortable, but you may be like, that was actually kind of fun. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and then you do it again. You may even make a career of it. You may actually start coaching others to do it. You see what I'm saying? So don't get rid of a box. Get rid of so many things that you may have seen or all these books that say to do X, Y, and Z. Like, man, just figure out what makes you happy and go from there.
Yes. I mean, it's important to go back because for a lot of people, especially whether it's business, whether it's life, they don't want to come off selfish.
Yep.
And it's crazy because majority of society portrays that, hey, you need to be X, Y, and Z in order to move or in order to be here. It's like, no, if you understand, and this is where, when we talk love or leadership and the next article that's supposed to be coming out, it talks about it. It talks about servant leadership as one of the leadership qualities. And you understand that when you have that mentality, when you can serve others, it serves you in a whole completely different way. Because yes, they say, I mean, you can take that traditional saying, give a man fish, he'll eat for the day. Teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. So understanding that, and it might seem selfish, but sometimes you have to learn how to fish in order for you to teach another to fish, because we might not always have somebody there to teach you. So understanding that it's okay to seem selfish in order to serve.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Like it's okay.
And I like where you went with that because especially right now, there's more and more individuals getting into coaching and training and consulting, not really advising because you got to be an expert to be an advisor. But there's so many individuals that are moving into this world that we're in. And I feel for some because they're stretching themselves too far without actually staying true to who they are. So it's a big difference if you're stretching that rubber band. I really liked how you talked about the rubber band. That's the analogy we're going with here. When you're stretching that rubber band, like it's you want to, but make sure that rubber band stretch represents who you are. Because if you're stretching that rubber band on behalf of others or on an idea that you materialize out of somewhere, you're not going to get results. And you're doing all of the stretching. You're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and then you're not even enjoying those uncomfortable situations because they don't represent what you want to represent. So the new coaches coming to the scene and new consultants, all of these individuals that are looking to try to get into this style of work, and it's nice to be able to get paid to help others. It's a wonderful feeling, but Do yourself and do your customers a favor by staying true to who you are.
Yep.
If you don't have an expert in an area, you don't. It's okay. You're
Don't be
better off
afraid to
saying,
learn.
I don't know, and I'm gonna look to figure it out, or I'm gonna partner with someone that does. You're better off doing that than try to lead somebody astray because you may not realize it, or you do and you're not thinking about it. The words that come out of your mouth have a lasting impression, and pictures and videos are like 1,000 words. So be mindful of that stuff.
Yes. And to piggyback, two things that you said that sparked off of the rubber band. Don't be afraid to stretch in your purpose. If you're going to stretch in your purpose. Make sure it's in your purpose. Because what I do also want to mention is if you stretch a rubber band too far, because it's not within your purpose, it will snap.
Mm-hmm.
The benefits of a rubber band when it's together is that there's no ending.
Mm-hmm.
The bad part is when a rubber band snaps, there's a beginning and there's an end, and that's it. You can't put it back together. So understanding, like, just to piggyback what you said, like it is okay to stretch, but make sure you are stretching in your purpose.
Yeah.
If it's not in your purpose, align with somebody that is strong and it's part of their purpose. Align with them, partner with them. And the reason why you want to partner with them is because you can, when you put a bunch of rubber bands together, it's not about stretching. It's about bouncing at that point.
Right.
It becomes a ball, and then you can bounce. So and there's more you can do with a group of rubber bands than you could with one. So think about it. The power of multiple rubber bands could literally crush a watermelon.
Yep.
So.
Yep, man. And then on that note,
Sir.
Oh my goodness. So people out there, I love this man right here. I've known him for many, many years. I kind of, in the process of me developing what is currently developed, I pretty much cut off relationships and cut off communication with just about everyone. I went to hermit mode and was like, I got to focus on me. I came out of hermit mode, started communicating with someone. Ralph came back into my life and was like, you know what, man, like, let's go. So can y'all see why I love this man? So with that note, Ralph, I appreciate you. This has been a wonderful week of communicating with you. Those that are following, if you have any questions, if you need any insights, you need any help, man, reach out to Ralph. I'll make sure to put his communication information in the bottom of this. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Like, it has nothing to do. What we're focusing on is not all about money. If you look anywhere on this site that we are on, you will see that very, very quickly. We're just trying to help as many people as possible understand to focus on things that bring joy and happiness into your life. Leave all the rest of that stuff alone, because it's not going to do you any good. So, all right, Ralph, you got any last thing to say before I hit the end button?
Just, if you're listening to this, continue to walk into your greatness. And your greatness is part of your purpose. So continue to walk into your purpose and your greatness. That's it.
All right, that'll work.